Hey, good evening, everybody. It's your girl, Lawanda D. Shazer, with another episode of Think About It. And before we get started, I just want to thank you for a little bit of your time. I know everybody's watching football, trying to see who's going to make it to the big dance, or people are getting ready for MLK celebration tomorrow. And so I just want to thank you for a little bit of your time. And I'm not going to stay with you long tonight, but I do want to talk about MLK because tomorrow is the national celebration and we've had things going on since Friday night. And the question that I want to talk about, the famous quote by MLK when he said, did he take us into a burning building when he introduced and fought for integration? And that's a big question. That's a big statement. And I tried to find a video in which he actually said that, and I could not find one. But my research showed that he had a conversation with Harry Belafonte in which he said that. And so basically, it goes, for all the steps we've taken towards integration, I've come to believe that we are integrating into a burning house. And so when you think about a burning house, you think about something that's bad, and that's devastating, and that's going to take over and take lives and just, like I said, just leave devastation in its way. And so there's a second part of the quote that he said that people really didn't pay much attention to. And it says that he said, I guess we're just going to have to become firefighters. And so he quantified the work that he'd already done, or qualified it, by saying that integration was a good thing, but we can't stop there, right? So I think that's what he was saying, that if we just stopped at integrating things, we really didn't change the big picture. It's awesome that people couldn't tell you where you could and could not go, but he was saying it wasn't enough. And did he take us into a burning building? So I want everybody to kind of think about that. And if you want to shoot me a question, let's have a conversation. Let's have a short conversation about that. I personally think integration was a good thing because there was a stigma that Black people weren't good enough to go into a restaurant, or good enough to go into a department store, or good enough to go to a decent schoolhouse, right? And so I think the fight for integration was more about not treating us as we were less than, right? It treating us in a way that we were able to go any place we wanted to, just like everybody else, right? And so I was having a conversation with Kevin, Kevin Miles, and we talked about, did the building actually have to burn? So when integration was introduced, did we have to go to the white restaurant? Did we have to go to the white department store? Did we have to go to the white schools? I think some of that we have to kind of think about on our own and kind of own some of that. We talk about, well, we had all these Black businesses, and when integration came along, it killed all the business. Well, did it really kill all the businesses, or did we just stop going? See, that's the question. And I think, again, we have to really examine that. When they opened up places for us to go to, we had a choice. We absolutely had a choice. We didn't have to stop going to the neighborhood stores, right? We didn't have to stop going to the neighborhood whatever. Again, we had a choice, and we chose to go to the white establishment. So I don't think we can always say that integration killed businesses. We helped to put the nail in the coffin. Again, we had a choice. Right. The businesses were killed because we decided we didn't want to go anymore. We can't blame white people for that. We can't blame anybody for that. We talk about Tulsa and how it was popping and businesses were flourishing, and they were. And then you talk about that, it was burned down and destroyed, and it was, right? But what about the other stores? What about the other establishments? We decided that we didn't want to partake anymore, right? And so now we're talking about community and unity, and we got to build and we got to build. I absolutely believe that too. But we got to get away from the stigma of not wanting to help one another. We talk about building up the Black community again. We have to be a community. We have to start moving in unison, right? And somewhere along the line, we forgot that. Somewhere along the line, we decided that it's all about me. In the 70s, that's when they kicked off the program, when you had to have affirmative action, when you had to have like at least a Black on the job. And so that Black person might have thought they were better than other Black people. And maybe that started it all. Maybe that made us start caring only about ourselves. I don't know. But I think it's something we really need to think about, and something that we need to really examine. How do we get our Black communities back together? How do we build up the Black community again? Here in Wichita, I've said it before, you can drive down 17th Street, you can drive down 21st Street, and there's so many buildings that are empty, right? I was proud today and yesterday. I rode past a little hot dog stand on 13th and Grove. Somebody, I don't know who the owner is. I'm hoping it's somebody that looks like me, but they refurbished the building, put some new siding on and put a sign on. And now we have another restaurant that's open again in the Black community. And why can't we do that with more buildings? Why come when we think about opening up a business, we want to go down to Union Station, or we want to go anywhere but in the heart of the Black community? What's up with that? So again, we got to own some of that. And yes, Pam, we absolutely have too many cliques in the Black communities. I was on a messenger Facebook page today, and we were just talking about, cliques. We were talking about sometimes people, they Mexicans on 13th and Grove. Oh man, I was hoping an actual Black business opened up. It was cool that a minority business opened, but we got to, how is it that Mexicans or Hispanics or Latinos can keep opening up businesses in the Black community? Yeah, but chicken. I don't know. It's that little stand next to the car wash right on 13th and Grove. And so again, if it's not us that opened it up, why not? Why not? What is holding us back from opening up our own businesses? And I know first and foremost, we'll probably say finances, but then it gets back again to, man, I was in conversations and see Adrian Hicks, you're on, with Brother Darrell, and we were talking about co-op opportunities, putting our money together and starting one business at a time. I don't know why we can't do that. Why can't we uplift a business and then uplift another business and then uplift another business? What is holding us back? I don't understand it. I know we've opened up different establishments to help Black businesses, but I don't see them yet. Where are they? Right, when Black people get into these, and I'm reading this message from my friend Pam, when Black people get in these offices, they don't push Black business funding. And is that the problem? We know funding is an issue, but other businesses seem to open up. Other people seem to get the loans. Other people seem to get the grants. What is holding us back? Do we need new leadership? Is that the problem? And do we have people in leadership positions that could maybe push some more funding in the Black community, and they're not doing it. That's a conversation we need to have. That's something we really need to think about. What is holding us back? We found out that during coronavirus, there was a lot of money flowing, but we also found out that it didn't make its way to the Black businesses. And again, did we hold anybody accountable? We know that the banks were the first line of those loans. And if minorities put in applications but didn't get the loans, did anybody hold the banks accountable? Did anybody go back to their bank and say, what happened? I don't own a business, so I didn't, apply for a loan. But if you applied for a loan and you didn't get it, did you follow up with the bank and hold them accountable? There's another round of stimulus coming, right? And it's supposed to be earmarked better for small businesses. And so we're going to have to keep an eye on what's going on. My daughter works at a bank, but she wasn't involved in that whole loan process. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. And she's a loan. She does loans, but she was not a part of that process. So let that sink in, y'all. Just let that sink in. So we got to start speaking up. We got to hold people accountable. I was told that our county commissioner has discretionary funds that she can give to the Black communities. Has anybody reached out? I'm going to reach out. If we do the Music in the Park this summer, I absolutely am going to reach out and see what the county can do for us, right? When it's a nonprofit event, we don't make any money off of it. It's strictly for the community. So I am going to ask, can we get some funding? Has anybody else gone to Lacey Cruz, our commissioner in District 1, and asked for resources or asked for help or asked to be sent in the right direction? Has anybody went to our councilman and asked him the same thing? Where is the money? So we got to take some responsibility and we got to hold people accountable. I do know that there's a grant coming out right now. There is a grant coming out right now, and I need to check on it again, but the city gives out these CDB grants. I believe that's the right acronym. And organizations like Real Men, Real Heroes has gotten money from them. And so if you're that type of an organization, I know that some of the women's shelters has gotten money from that program. Let's see. And other social agencies and other nonprofits that are out there to help our community, they have been getting that's funds. And so if you've never applied, I encourage you to go to the city's website and keep an eye on that and see if you can qualify for some of that money. Those organizations some got like $50, $60, $100,000. It's a nice pot of money that's out there, but we gotta apply for it. But I know a lot of people say, well, how can I apply for something that I don't know anything about? Right. And that's a great question. And so it gets back to, again, we got to start sharing information when we find out about it. We can't keep letting our people stay in a burning building. We got to be the firemen, the firefighters, the firewomen to put those fires out. And the thing that we know that Dr. King was going in the direction of was economics. And so if the building is burning, if we've already accomplished integration, but the building is still burning, that means we're missing out on something, right? And it's the economic part of it. It's we get to go to these schools, but what about the schools that are already in our community? We didn't mean with integration, we didn't mean that we just want to go over there and you neglect what's over here. It meant that we wanted equal footing on both levels, right? And so how do we get it? How do we put the fire out? Who's willing to stand up and say enough is enough? Fannie Lou, what's her last name? Fannie Lou Helmer. She said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. The whole Black community should be sick and tired of being sick and tired. Everybody should be. But the only way to stop being sick and tired is to get some healing. And we won't heal if we don't move. We won't heal if we don't speak up, right? Let me go back to my comments. Yeah, CDBG funding, right. It was cut dramatically, but it's still some funding there. I sat on a committee last year that actually helped to give out those funds. And so I'm telling you, it's some good money still floating out there. The funding probably was cut, but there's still some good money available. And so if you have a nonprofit, you need to apply for some of that funds. From what I could tell, the same entities go year after year and apply for that money. And it's time to spread the love and spread the wealth. Yeah, it's time to spread the wealth. But again, if nobody different applies for those funds, then nobody will get them. And I will keep a lookout for that, for the link for that. But everybody needs to keep an eye on City of Wichita's page, right? And apply for some of that money. It shouldn't go to the same entities year after year after year, right? If we're not seeing, well, I'm not saying what results we get, but I'm saying that we can get more results if the money is spread out. That's all I'm saying. If the money is spread out, we can get more results in the Black community. I was on another phone call a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the $1 million that Westar, now Evergy, gave to the community fund for 67214, 67208, and I believe 67219. And when you do the math, it came out that 66% of the funds went to people that sat on the board that was giving away the money. I want you to let that sink in as well. 66% of the funds that they've given away already has gone to the organizations that the committee members sit on. So that means that when they put together the committee to help give away those funds, when Westar said, okay, we messed up and we want to try to make amends, we want to try to do something for the community because we made a mistake, they donated $1 million. And then they also put together a committee that would go through the grant applications and give the funds away. So the committee members, 66% of the funds that have been given away to date was given away to organizations that the committee members belong to. Yeah, let that sink in. So what do we need to do differently, right? And again, at this point, I'm not judging the organizations and I'm not judging what they did with the money. All I'm saying is that 66% of the money that has been given away to date has gone to organizations that those committee members sit on. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying right now. So we talk about community. We talk about unity. We got to start with being honest with one another. We got to start with willing to share information with one another. And if somebody gives out information, they shouldn't be the bad guy. You shouldn't make the person giving out information the bad guy. That's actually the good guy, because we have to bring awareness to what's going on. And it's not knocking somebody. It's not, what my hair doing? My hair looking crazy, y'all? It's my background. It look like my hair on fire. So, again, we should not knock the messenger, because that's one of the problems in the Black community. We don't want to share information. If we get information about money that's going on, we get information about grants that's out there, we keep it to ourselves. Like, I'm gonna apply for that money and I don't want to tell anybody else about it. Well, maybe somebody else may have a better idea and they can make the money go further and do even more for the community. What's wrong with that? Again, it gets back to that mentality. And I don't know if it's the affirmative action mentality that I got mine and you got yours. And that's really not what was going on. Affirmative action, and I still believe in that program today, was a way to open doors to get people in those in jobs and businesses that typically are not welcome. And so if you can get the door open, I think that's a good thing. But as we can see, like, and I'm gonna come back to 13th and Grove. The old Dollar Tree opened back up as a Dollar Plus, and it's ran by, it's in the heart of the Black community, but it's not ran by a Black owner. And then now I'm being told that the new little food stand is not owned by an African American that's in the heart of the African American community, right? So everybody can make money off of us, but we can't make money off of us for some reason. And that bothers me so much. It bothers me that people have the ability to help and they don't do it. They don't do it. So getting back to this burning building and talking about desegregation, I still think desegregation, integration, wherever, was a good thing. But it didn't mean that we didn't have to give up who we were. And that's the problem. We gave up our essence, right, to join other people's essence. I think about the football programs. Y'all know I love football. I love sports. And you think about all the things that were created for Black people because we weren't welcome at other places. So we opened up Black colleges. To talk about the basketball programs and the football programs, we were not welcomed at the traditionally white schools to play sports. Well, we wasn't going to get an education, so we definitely were not welcome to play sports. So we did it at our own schools, HBCUs. We played football, we played basketball, we did all that stuff, and we excelled at it. And I always tell people I don't like Alabama. Sorry, Coach Payne. I don't like Alabama because I can't get that statement out of my head when Coach Bryant said, when he started seeing Black athletes, he said, I got to get me one of those. And that bothers me, even though Alabama is killing it. And the coach now, he done been in some Black Lives Matter movements and all that. So I'm hoping his heart is in the right place. But going back then, Black people were not allowed or wanted at those schools. And then here we got the League 42 and we celebrate Jackie Robinson, right? And not knocking Jackie Robinson, but he crossed the color line, right? And he celebrated for being the first Black to play Major League Baseball. But you know what? It killed the Negro League. And we have to remember that. Jackie Robinson going to Major League Baseball effectively killed the Negro League, because after that, then other white teams was like, well, I'm gonna get me one of those. Maybe I'll get two of those. Then I'll get another one over here and another one over there. And eventually it killed the Negro League because we were bamboozled that it was a better league to play in. When we look at the greats, they all came from the Negro League, right? And so, like, we always say the first Black that did this and the first Black to do that. It was awesome. They did that thing. But then we have to look at the repercussions of that thing as well, right? Why did the Negro League have to die? Because when Jackie Robinson went, everybody else wanted to go. And again, it gets back to a reflection of us. You think about hundreds of years being told that we aren't worth this or we aren't worth that. We have no value. And then when a white organization says, I want you, all of a sudden it said you arrived, right? And it said that we arrived. And it messed us up, y'all. it messed us up. Think about football and the colleges. Think about, the Notre Dames. Well, maybe it's not a good one. Any team in the SEC, any team in any other organizations, the top players are always Black. They're Black, right? But they go to those schools, and those schools get the TV contracts. They get the sponsorships. They get the Gatorades and the Powerades. They get to be on channel CBS and ABC and ESPN. And the Black HBCUs, they don't get the money, y'all. The same way that those other schools are being funded by sports, had our Black athletes not all migrated away, then we would be getting those dollars that can support the schools. HBCUs are in trouble. They've been in trouble for a long time because they don't have the same net that the other traditionally white schools have. And that's sports. That's sports, y'all. That's crazy. Even though HBCU teams are pretty much all Black, but the top tier athletes get recruited to traditionally white schools. Again, let that sink in. Are we in a burning building because maybe we help to keep the flame going? I don't know. We got to ask ourselves that, and we got to have a real conversation. How do we put the flames out? We only get about 18% of the benefits of affirmative action. Now we do, because you know what? Initially, it was all about getting African Americans in those seats, in those jobs, right? And we know that women began to latch on to the affirmative action, and it actually benefited white women tremendously. Affirmative action, minority contracts, white women benefited. And on the white women, we found out that usually the company is owned by the husband, but they put the company in the wife's name so they can get the benefit. And again, that's why we got to get some people in politics to close these loopholes, right? How do we close those loopholes, y'all? Again, we got to start speaking up. We got to start calling things the way that it is. And I agree with you, Mary Dean. Even though HBCUs are awfully expensive, but so are traditionally white schools. They're expensive as well. As a matter of fact, education itself is off the chain right now. It's so expensive. But if top tier Black athletes stopped going to traditionally white schools and started migrating back to HBCUs, or maybe even stayed home and went to schools in their state, it would benefit them a whole lot more than it would the schools, right? Because like I said, those schools get those contracts, they get to be on TV, and you look at these stadiums that hold all kind of people. And if you even look in the stadiums, and I do, because again, I love sports, and the athletes on the field are primarily Black, the ones that are excelling, the ones that are killing the game. Basketball, football are Black, but you look in the stands and everybody's white. You look at the cheerleaders, everybody's white. What's up with that? Maybe we should go back to HBCUs. I don't know. It's a conversation we need to have with ourselves. I'm reading some of the comments over here. Right. When affirmative action came about, again, there were loopholes or unintended consequences that we didn't know was coming. When affirmative action was put into the books, it wasn't for everybody. It was for Black people, because Black people were the ones that were traditionally getting denied access, right? But again, loopholes. And that's how other people were able to take advantage of the affirmative action, right? And so you guys know, some people know that, where I worked for 32 years. I'm not even going to say the name of where I work. You guys know where I work, those that know me. And to be honest, my last 2 years were just like that building that's on fire. I had heat on me every single day. I had to I had to document what I was doing. I had to, man, I'm telling you, my last 2 years were miserable. And it's because the leadership changed. And the leadership actually said to me, I know what you do on your app when you're not at work. They were watching what I was doing. They knew I was what organizations I was a part of. And because I was part of those organizations, y'all, I felt the heat big time. But this I was built for that, right? So I withstood the heat because, like I say, God made me the way I am, and God made me perfect in His image, and I was able to withstand. But the heat was on me at that organization, and it's because I was Black, because I was a female, and because I was smart. You couldn't get around that. At one point in time, I was the only one in that organization that had an MBA. I was the only one at a point in time that had a 4-year degree. People were getting promoted, y'all, with a 2-year degree, with an associate's degree. And one person, he's still there. He bought his degree, y'all, and he got promoted to one of the top level positions at that place of business. And people knew he bought his degree, but he got away with that. And again, there are loopholes that people can get through, but we as Black folks, we got to start again working together. I'm in a couple of groups where a lot of people are coming together and and trying to build these think tanks, right? But the think tanks won't work if we're not willing to put in the work together. The think tanks won't work if I know where there's a pot of money, but I don't tell anybody because I only want it for myself, or I only want it for my friends, right? It won't work. So I think what I'm saying is that if we want to put out the fire, if we want to become firefighters, we got to start working together again, y'all. Everybody likes to glamorize Tulsa, the Black Wall Street, and they all worked together, and they had businesses and banks, and they had all this money flowing through. And when we say we want the same thing, well, the only way to get the same thing is start working together. And those that are in position, to find out information, you got to start sharing it. You got to start doing a better job, man. You got to do better. Adrian Hicks is talking about affirmative action. I know it's not perfect anymore. It's not. But I still say that without it, whatever, if we're only getting 18% benefit from it, it's better than no benefit. But if you go apply for a job and you didn't get it because you were Black, did you speak up? Are you afraid to speak up? We got to start communicating to change some of those things. If, years ago when I bought my first house, I went to Bank of America. I'll just say it out loud. And this was, a few years ago, my first house. I went to Bank of America and I met with the loan officer, and we had a conversation. I didn't even fill out the application. We had a conversation, and she said, well, based on the conversation, I don't think you're going to be approved for a loan, so we're not going to be able to help you. And I'm like, I didn't even do the application, y'all. So I'm like, okay. So then I go to another bank, and I'll say the name. Back then, I went to Fidelity Bank, and just like that, I got a home loan. But I didn't know enough in my 20s to cry foul on Bank of America back then, right? I didn't know I was discriminated against. I knew it didn't feel right. And I was like, something shady about this, but I didn't know what to do about it. But we know now, you go into a bank and they're being shady, you can report that bank. You can absolutely do something about it. And again, when we know better, we do better. And when we do better, we help others to do better. Okay, I'm reading the comments over here. Okay. We also have to be willing to stop supporting our Black politicians that are not speaking for us, such as Clyburn. Careers should be exposed and booted. I'm not going to comment on Clyburn because I don't have enough information, but I agree with that statement in general that we do have to stop supporting Black politicians that are not speaking up for us. And first and foremost, what are we most familiar with? Our own communities. Who represents us in our communities? Are they speaking up for us? Are they doing the job that we elected them to do? And again, we have to not be afraid to say something, right? And I think a lot of people are afraid, and they're afraid because of what they may lose out on. They're afraid because they may not be invited to the parties anymore. They're afraid because they haven't been invited to the party, but they want to be, right? They want to be in rooms and conversations that they are already in or have never been invited to. And if giving up who you are is how you get invited to the party, why would you even want to go to that party? Right? If you have to not speak up on things that are not right, if you have to not be who you are, if you have to be silenced, or if you have to say things like, we talk about 45 and his supporters, they all mimic what he said. So who wants to be part of a group where you can't even be yourself, right? So quit aspiring to be something that you're not. Quit aspiring to get along. Let's get into some good trouble. Let's ruffle some feathers. And it's not about, just doing stuff to be doing stuff. It's about making moves to make people's lives better. And if all we want to do is get along, nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever change. I'm going to bring up Kevin again. When he was here a couple of visits ago, he said Wichita, the Black community, looks exactly the same as when he left 10 years ago. How does that happen? How does a community look exactly the same or worse when we got some affluent leaders? What's been going on in our communities that we get stuck in a burning building? I'm reading comments again. Right. And I agree. I agree. The affirmative action program had unintended consequences, just like the PPE loan process last year had unintended consequences, just like the federal rollout of the opportunity zones, unintended consequences. The opportunity zones were supposed to be for developments neighborhoods that have been neglected or underdeveloped over the years. And here in Wichita, if a part of an area is in the opportunity zone, then all of the area gets the tax benefits, right? And so you think about downtown. Downtown, some of the areas are underdeveloped, but there's a lot of development going on downtown. So you would think that area would not qualify for the opportunity zones, but it absolutely was identified. And when you go to the opportunity zones, you say, well, who picked those areas to be opportunity zones? Well, our city council did. That's who did it. They submitted a package to the state, and I never saw the package that was submitted, so I don't know what all was in there, but I know a lot of different areas were submitted. And then allegedly the state picked out the areas that were going to be designated as opportunity zones. Now, I'm thinking that the package that was sent to the state had to heavily they were influencing the state on what areas to designate as opportunity zones, because I'm sure the governor did not go and look at every piece of every plotted land on that map and say, okay, yeah, that works. Okay, yeah. I'm sure the governor's office had to go off what the cities submitted. And so, broken record, we know that over in the Black community, just a little parcel was identified as an opportunity zone, and WSU was identified as an opportunity zone. And again, just think about that. We all know WSU has done all kind of development. They've got all kind of buildings. They got a lot of things going on, but they were still designated as an opportunity zone, which means you get tax breaks, you get loans, all that good stuff. Downtown, all kind of development, but they still qualified for an opportunity zone. 17th and Hillside, a little piece of land, a little piece was designated as an opportunity zone. Excuse me. So again, it gets back to, y'all know how I feel about politics. It gets back to, God, sorry, y'all. It gets back to our leaders. It gets back to who's in charge. I know it's a part of the Trump tax plan, and we found out that, yeah, it absolutely, it became a place for white people with capital and wealth. That's exactly what I'm saying. The opportunity zones was built and rolled out to help underdeveloped communities, but in actuality, it's helping white capitalists with big bucks, because you had to use capital gains dollars and all that good stuff. And you figure, look, I got my little account, and I had capital gains of like $1,200. I can't start a business with $1,200, but you magnify that by millions of dollars. And yes, it absolutely benefited white capitalists. And so, yeah, again, that's what I'm saying. The devil was in the details. The devil was in the congressional leaders that wrote out the map plan for opportunity zones. They left loopholes in there, or they put loopholes in there, because even just talking about capital gains right there, that disqualified a whole lot of people, because again, you need millions of dollars to start a business, right? And so you had to have a business, and you had to have your money invested in order to get capital gains. And so, yeah, was it really for the little guy? I think allegedly they thought the guys with the big bucks would go and develop in underdeveloped areas, but that's not what's happening. The development is going on in areas that's already being developed. Yep, Lucy in the football. You're right. You put it out there. Don't this look good? Come on, you can kick this field goal. You can get some of this money. You can start new businesses. Whoop, moves the football out from under you. Oh, our bad. You don't have the resources. Crap. Oh, our bad. We didn't designate your area. Oh, man, because even if they had maybe designated more areas, maybe people could have pooled their money together. Maybe the whole co-op concept would work, but that's not what happened. So, yeah. So how do we put out that burning building, y'all? We got to, if we really are talking about unity, and we're really talking about building up, we got to start trusting each other. We got to start sharing information, and quit being afraid of not being who you are. It's okay to speak up and say, that's not right. It's okay to go to a city council meeting and say, what's going on? My mother's street, the street is coming apart. It has jagged edges. And I started complaining in 2019. I complained again in 2020. I got a response from the city, what department is that? Who handles our roads? Help me out, brother Terrell. Not the planning, is it the planning department? I'm not sure. But they emailed me back and said, oh, it's just cosmetic, so it's no big deal. And I'm like, It is a big deal. My mother could tear up everybody on her block, really. Your tires could get ruined, right? And they said, oh, it's just cosmetic. But check this out. In front of my house, the sidewalk is coming apart. There's like 3 squares that need to be replaced. How about I get a letter from the city saying I have to pay for it? And if I don't pay for it, Public Works, if I don't get it done, they will pay somebody to get it done, and I got to pay the city back. How does that work? How come I have to pay for a sidewalk? I have no control over who walks on our sidewalk. I don't have a dog. I don't walk a dog. I don't ride a bike. And if I do ride a bike, it's in the streets, but I don't ride bikes. But I gotta pay for 3 squares of a sidewalk. And I think each square is like, I think it's $500, I think, or something like that. But I gotta pay for it. But when I tell the city the street is coming apart and they're like, oh, it's just cosmetic. Well, I say the sidewalk is cosmetic. Who cares? But I got to pay for it. I got a letter the other day they hired some company. Oh, here it is. PP&J Construction will be out here in the next 2 to 8 days. They're going to repair the sidewalk and I'm going to get a bill. I'm like, what the heck? Can y'all go fix my mama's street? And it's not just, she lives on 27th and Vassar, 28th and Vassar. The whole street is falling apart, and they told me it's cosmetic. The sidewalk is cosmetic, but I don't have a choice. That's not fair. And so, I called the city before, and I'm going to call again, and I'm going to complain. I probably would have to pay for it because I was told it's in state statute that citizens, homeowners, have to pay for sidewalks. Like, why y'all think people don't want to become homeowners anymore? That doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me at all. But I'm going to try to fight it, but I'm going to have to pay for this one. And check this out. And I couldn't just go hire somebody to re-cement the sidewalk. Nope. They had to be licensed and registered with the city in order to do the sidewalk. So they want me to pay big bucks to fix their sidewalk. It's not fair. Right? It's not fair. But again, how do we get these things changed? It's going to take more than just myself to complain. And so I'm just wondering who's ready to actually stand up and fight this stuff, right? Who's ready to not just sit around anymore, right? We got to put the fire out, y'all, but we can only put the fire out if we work together. Because it's a lot of stuff that they put on the little man. Y'all, I'm the little man. I got to pay $1,500 to fix a sidewalk that I don't even use. And since I refuse to get it fixed, they're fixing it. And now they're going to put it on my property taxes. And again, I paid off my house in 2019, paid it off. But every year I still got to pay taxes every year. So my house will never be paid for. Like never. That bothers me as well. Like, again, what the heck? Y'all going to make me cuss. No, not for real. I ain't gonna cuss. Y'all ain't gonna cuss. But it's so many things on the back of the little guy that's in state statute or that's in city policy or city ordinance. We got to start reading this stuff and we got to start saying, enough is enough. Why I got to pay for the sidewalk? I don't even use it. But again, my mother's street, my street too was kind of trash too. And then they told me that, well, on your sidewalks, they told me that one of my neighbors had to call in the city for them to come out and take a look. I know you'll cuss for me, Kevin. They said one of my neighbors called in on me. Okay. Only people I see, I'm going to keep it real, y'all. Only people I see walking on the sidewalks are the new white people that moved into the neighborhood that walk their dogs. So did they call on me? I don't know. Did my neighborhood captain call on me? I don't know. All I know is I don't use the sidewalk. That's all I know. And I got to pay $1,500 and I'm ticked off. So if y'all want to cash at me, LD Shazer, payday DeShazer. If you want to cash at me, because that's bull. I got to pay $1,500 for a sidewalk that I don't even use. And in the meantime, my mama's street is trash and they won't come out. And they even told me that if you make a complaint, that they will personally come out and take a look. There is no way They went to 28th and Vassar and looked at the streets on both sides and said, oh, it's just cosmetic. They didn't go. I know they didn't go. So tomorrow, well, they're closed tomorrow, but I'm going to email them again tomorrow. I'm going to email them more pictures and show them that it's not just cosmetic. And that's what we all have to do. Something's not right. We got to stand up and start talking. Maybe I won't get any results, but maybe the next person will. And I'm cool with that. I'm cool with somebody else getting the results if I can get the ball rolling. So y'all work with me. Let's start speaking up. Let's start calling out whatever's not right. Let's call it out. Stop being afraid. Stop getting along just to get along. It doesn't get you anywhere. Maybe you are all right, but how can you sleep at night knowing that you're all right and everybody else around you is suffering? That's not what God called us to do, y'all. That's not even, you ain't even got to go biblical. That's just common courtesy. You got to look out for somebody else, not just yourself. And one of these days, I'm going to get real bold and I'm going to start calling out people's names. I already said I'm going to do roll call on everybody that got grants last year. And I've already started it. 66.4% of the $700,000 that Westar and Evergy has already given out has gone to the people that sit on the board. There's a problem with that. And that's how Wichita is set up. And we got to get away from that. So I'm going to let y'all get back to football. I don't even know who's winning. I know Tom Brady is a little shady, but I think he's probably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. And I'm going to tell y'all why I started liking Tom Brady. You know, my son used to model back in school. And, you know, people try to say, well, if you model, you this, you that, you ain't, you know. But, you know, my son is tough as they come, whatever. And then Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback ever, he became a model. I'm like, that's my quarterback. That's my guy. And that meant that he wasn't afraid to be who he wanted to be. Even though we know he's friends with 45. Dang, my burning building is burning. See, my building is burning down, y'all. So he wasn't afraid to be himself. I'm asking everybody else to quit being afraid of who you are. Stand up for what's right. And if you stand up for what's right, it's going to make everything better. I guarantee it. I guarantee you. So y'all get back to football. Y'all get back to planning your day of service tomorrow. Talking about, yeah, my building was burning. Talking about MLK Day tomorrow. Nationally, to celebrate his day is a day of service. So quit being selfish. Think about somebody else. If you know where some money is at, tell somebody else so they can go get it. If you know there's a bill on the table that ain't right, you talk about it. You call your Congress people up, statewide and federal, and say, enough is enough, right? We got to put the fire out of that burning building. So get back to what you was doing. I want to thank everybody for popping in. I wasn't going to stay on this long, but, you know, I had some stuff to say. And hopefully everybody else out there listening, whether it's now or tomorrow, whenever, don't be afraid to stand up for what is right. All right. Good night. And I'm going to leave you with this. This is the show that is guaranteed to give you something to think about. Bye.